Welcome to our Tuesday monthly webinar. So thanks for joining us with the New York Charter Schools Association statewide webinar. I am not your normal host. So I'm Anna Hall, CEO of the Northeast Charter Schools Network. Yomika can't be with us today. If any of you have ever tried to travel from upstate New York to Washington, D.C., you know that her flight was delayed. And so she thought she would be there already and able to join us, but she's probably in the air right now. She's on her way to Washington, D.C., along with charter parents actually from across New York State to join with charter communities from across the country, representing you and your great work in our capital during Charter School Appreciation Week. So we'll forgive her for her absence, and I'm sure she'll know that you all miss her. I'm joined today by Janet Klein, Program Research Specialist in the Charter Schools Office at SED, Susie Corello, Executive Director of the SUNY Charter Schools Institute, Erin Cochran, Deputy Executive Director, Erin, I'm just marbles in my mouth here. Erin Cochran, Deputy Executive Director of Policy and Operations at the New York City DOE, and Corey Callahan, General Counsel and VP of Legal Policy at the New York City Charter School Center. So thanks as always for joining us. Welcome to May, and hopefully I'm knocking on wood here, the real beginning of spring. It also marks Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We're proud to observe the month's heritage celebrations and would love to know how you all are celebrating it as well. So please reach out to the association, our comms team at comms@nycharters.net. Michael dropped that in the chat, or tag us on social media so that we can share what you're doing for this month's heritage celebrations. Now I'm super excited. This is a fun departure from our typical agenda to dive into celebrating 5 charter high school seniors that were selected as the recipients of our Aspiring Educator and Leader Scholarship. And we have a couple of them with us today. Before we launched publicly, we were trading horror stories of summer jobs right after senior year, trying to save money. So if you have any words of wisdom, you should throw them in the chat for these fine gentlemen. So the purpose of this scholarship is to recognize 5 graduating seniors from New York State charter schools who've shown a commitment to their community through service at their high school and in their choice of post-secondary studies. Each applicant submitted their transcripts, resumes, and an essay on how their experience specifically in a charter school will lead them to a career in education and/or social service. The 5 recipients we're announcing today will receive $1,000 to support their post-secondary studies. We'd like to recognize them now. I'll introduce them. After hearing your name, if they're with us, we have a couple who are not able to join. The recipients have the opportunity to unmute, tell us what high school they attended, and share their plans for post-secondary studies next year. And at the end of the announcements, please let's all join together to give them a big virtual round of applause. So from Rochester, we have Christopher Harris, who's graduating from Rochester Academy High School. Also from Rochester really representing here, we have Naya Bedell, who attends Rochester Prep Charter High School. And from the Bronx, we have 3 winners. So all you other boroughs and geographies, you got to show up better next year. Rochester and the Bronx are running away with it. Juan Sedeno, who's graduating from Opportunity Charter School, Justin Palaco from American Dream Charter School, and I apologize, Justin, I practiced your name before and I may have just gotten it wrong. And then finally, Ulysses Gonzalez, who'll be graduating from Equality Charter School. So I'll pause for just a second, and those folks who are with us, Juan and Justin, if you want to take a second and just tell all of these cheerleaders who you don't even know and you're only seeing as Hollywood squares here on the screen, how much we're cheering for both of you.
I would like to start off saying thank you for the opportunity and scholarship, and born and raised in the Bronx, taking the next step and going to college and taking the knowledge of what college is about to give me to my future career. It's a pleasure, and also making my family proud and all of that. So it's much grateful. I much appreciate to everyone here, and I hope everyone days start from on as well. Much appreciation.
It's absolutely our pleasure. I know I speak for everyone here when I say that. Juan, anything that you'd like to share?
I just like to say, I just want to thank you for everything that you have done. I'm really truly grateful and thankful for this amazing opportunity. And with an opportunity like this, I hope that it could help guide me to whatever career that I want to do that involves social service and helping people out. And I'm really am truly grateful for this, and I'm just glad to be blessed with this amazing opportunity. And thank you once again. It really, really does mean a lot to me. And yeah, thank you again.
It's our pleasure. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that you've got 64 people on here who at some point would love to give you either a job or an internship. So please keep in touch. So yes, let's give them, Erin, I love it. I love the virtual round of applause for these two. Thank you both. And again, definitely please do keep in touch. You're welcome to listen to all of the fascinating things that we talk about. But we also understand if you need to jump off. All right. So with that, all of these exciting announcements, we're also proud to officially announce the launch of our 2022 New York Charter Schools Conference. Particularly exciting because, knock on wood, everyone right now, we're planning to be in person and are heading to Buffalo from October 19th to 21st. And just one quick note about location. One of the things that we're really excited about is the way that the charter sector and the charter community in New York has really become a statewide community. And so we really think it's important to visit all of those communities across the state and to give you all the opportunity to see each other and see each other's schools. And so that'll be something that you can have the opportunity to do in Buffalo from October 19th to 21st. So we're planning for some offsite opportunities on the Wednesday of the conference. So be on the lookout for some more specifics and registration information so that you can plan your schedule. If you have never been to Niagara Falls, I highly recommend that you think about that as you think about your schedule. Registration is officially open, and you should have received an invitation to the conference via email this morning. If you haven't, definitely let us know. Mike will drop an email address in the chat. And as always, member schools receive complimentary registration. If you have any questions about the conference, please email us at conference@nycharters.net. And again, Mike will drop that in the chat. We are also excited to announce our general call for conference presenters. We're looking for a variety of presentation topics and things, also recommendations. So even if you are not applying to present, but there's a topic that you think is particularly important or compelling, please let us know. And we are happy to do some of the legwork to seek out high quality presenters on topics that are most important to you and your schools. We will be accepting presentation applications and submissions through August 12th. And then we'll be notifying selected presenters in mid to late August so that we can share with everyone the full conference agenda in September. And if you have any questions about that, you can email Mike and he will drop his email in the chat.
Could you repeat those dates?
Absolutely. I should go more slowly for this. October 19th to 21st. The 19th is a Wednesday. We will have some, again, off-site opportunities, including school visits, a trip to Niagara Falls, and a kickoff, and then most of the content on the 20th and 21st. We're trying to be sensitive of people's different travel considerations. And I'm stealing Yomika's thunder here. She has been on a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I actually meant the deadline.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, the deadline went too fast on the deadline.
Totally. August 12th.
August 12th, okay, for submission.
For submission, yep. And then our goal will be to get back to people within a couple weeks after that so that everyone can plan and we can share all of the exciting presenters with folks who are planning to come.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, thank you for stopping me. I really appreciate it. So as I said, I'm stealing Yomika's thunder here, but over the last few weekends, the association has been making stops on the Stand Up for Ed Equity statewide tour. So far in Bronx, Brooklyn, and Rochester. Brooklyn, I heard, had a fantastic band, and Rochester had an electric violin player. So it's really been incredibly dynamic, and a lot of schools and students have been participating, which has been awesome. This coming weekend, it will be in Buffalo, where the weather will be beautiful. It will not be cold. And we'll be rallying in Niagara Square at noon on Saturday, May 14th. If you can join us in Buffalo, either spiritually or physically, we're dropping a flyer in the chat so that if you're around, you can join us. Couple more scheduling updates before I hand it over to our partners here. Next Tuesday, May 17th at 10 a.m., it's the last data working group meeting of the year. Tip of a hat to Janet Klein, who's joining us today, who will also be joined by Jed Schaefer from SED and Tracy Davey from Eastern Suffolk BOCES, giving a review and tutorial of all of the end of year reporting deadlines. So I think it's really important. I was just asked via post-it note if my kids can have ice cream outside. Apologies for that. So this will be a great session, great end of year wrap up for data managers. So we encourage you to join or pass it along to whoever in your school is responsible for end of year data reporting. And Mike is dropping a registration link in the chat. On May 20th, 10 a.m. the following week, Operations Working Group is meeting and is holding a meeting on district-wide safety plans and school-based emergency response plans, including presenters from the New York State Center for School Safety, who'll be giving an overview of these documents and who will answer questions for charter schools who are working on either creating, updating, or refreshing these plans. We know a lot of you work on these over the summer, and so we think that this is a good opportunity for anyone who knows that these plans need a review or revision to come and have any questions answered, in particular if you need any board input before the end of the school year. In addition to the orientation center session, the New York State Center for School Safety has a number of professional development sessions over the next few months that you might have actually gotten an email earlier today from the charter school email address at SED, and we'll drop a link for those trainings in the chat as well. And then our board member working group will host its next meeting on June 23rd at 4 o'clock. Board members who've joined so far have reported really enjoying and appreciating the opportunity to connect with other board members. So if you want to share that with folks who are on your board, we're dropping a link to the chat for that as well. A couple of topic-specific webinars that are particularly timely that are coming up. One we actually just scheduled and is coming up at the end of the month on May 26th at 4 p.m., hosting a webinar on FEMA grant funding. So I don't know about all of you, but I remember at the beginning of COVID hearing about FEMA grant funding and largely dismissing it, thinking that it wasn't a lot of money, charters might have difficulty accessing it, and or the process for accessing it was overly cumbersome. We have heard from many of you and of charters who are receiving significant FEMA awards. And so we wanted to re-raise this topic in particular because the window for applying for these funds closes in September. So you need to make a decision probably before you leave at the end of June about whether or not you are applying in order to gather the necessary paperwork. These funds can cover any costs related to pandemic relief and response going all the way back to March 2020. And we're hosting Bob Keogh from Fourth Sector Solutions because he has worked with some of your schools in order and has, again, received some pretty significant awards from this fund. So again, May 26th at 4 p.m. And then on Thursday, June 9th at 4 p.m., hosting a webinar in partnership with CSBM, Mango Metzger Bar, and PKF O'Connor Davies on new requirements for leasing standards that go into effect on July 1st, 2022. So anyone in your finance office or facilities team who deals with lease requirements, we would encourage them to attend. And again, those links are being dropped in the chat. Last scheduling update, and then I promised Janet, Susie, Corey, and Aaron, turning it over to you all. The Charter Parent Council has its meeting tomorrow, and very excitedly, many members of the Charter Parent Council will be in DC at the time, so it's a particularly exciting meeting. So Mike's dropping a flyer in the chat that you can share with families, and I think it's an exciting opportunity because again, members of the Parent Council had the opportunity to go to DC, and so it could be something that's inspiring to your families to share the great work that you and your schools are doing. So hopefully I didn't go too fast through all of those dates as well. And thanks, Janet, Susie, Corey, and Aaron, for your patience. Turning it over to you all for any updates that you want to share.
I wanted to say hi, everybody, and thank you for having me. And I apologize for being here in place of David. You must be tired of seeing me and missing him, which he will be very grateful for. And hopefully next month you will see him instead. But it's really a pleasure to be here on a day when there's a celebration to be had. Congratulations to Justin and Juan. I'm sure your families are extremely proud of you, as are we all. Graduation is a huge accomplishment, and congratulations. So far as, let's see, Anna already mentioned that we have the last data working group next Tuesday, and the amazing Tracy Davey is going to go over everything you need to know about end of year reporting. It's going to be really comprehensive and super worthwhile. If you have somebody in your school who can take an hour and just come with questions or just to listen, super worthwhile. In addition to that, on Friday of next week, on the 20th at noon, the New York City Charter School Center is working with us, and there'll be another webinar with the amazing Tracy Davey. This time, though, she's going to focus on something that happened last year, and we can't allow it to happen again this year. And that is 153 New York City charter schools last year officially had 0 English language learner students because of a reporting error. Again, we can't allow that to happen again this year because your enrollment of English language learners, in addition to students with disabilities and economically disadvantaged students, needs to be comparable or exceed that of your district of location. And if your official number for English language learners is a 0, that makes it very difficult for your authorizers to see that you are fulfilling that obligation, which is a statutory obligation. So she's going to go a deep dive into reporting of English language learners and what you need to do to make sure that your school is not counted as one of those with the reporting error again this year. And I think that's everything I have right now. Turn it over to Susie.
Thanks, Janet. And congratulations again to both the association for giving the awards and for the winners. I think that's great. And I'm really thrilled that Justin and Juan were here today. So it's nice to meet you online. First thing on SUNY's agenda, Governor Hochul has announced that the opening of the 2022 application cycle for the New York State Master Teacher Program is available, and this one's for non-New York City schools. It's an opportunity to join what really is kind of an invaluable in-person community. I've been able to attend pre-pandemic some of this. You get access to countless resources, programming that's designed by SUNY faculty, and you receive an annual stipend, or teachers receive an annual stipend of $15,000. So the deadline to apply is July 15th. There is an upcoming info session webinar that I really encourage you to check out. The team that runs this at SUNY is really great and inspirational. Michael put a link into that webinar. This would be the mighty Mike Lazinski from the Institute team is going to put a link to the webinar in the chat box. And again, this one's for non-New York City schools. There's a separate cohort done through Math for America with a separate application period. And when that one becomes available, we will be sure to let you know. Let's see, next thing on the list. The Institute's renewal application will hit the Institute's website before May 9th, or by close of business on May 9th, I should say, for schools that are coming to renewal in fall of 2022. The applications, as usual, are due on August 15th. We can provide more detail about completing that application and general guidance about the renewal process. We'll reach out to all of you, but I hope you know this. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. Wanted to give a special note plea to the SUNY authorized high schools as all of those great college acceptance letters come rolling in. I'm seeing them on my Twitter feed and other places. As those come in this spring, can you let us know as your students start making commitments, kind of where they're headed? Where your soon-to-be graduates going to call home for the next few years? We would love to know. Open meetings law changes. You might have noticed there's some guidance on the Institute's website with regard to those requirements. They continue basically the same way until June 8th. Ralph and Carrie have put together an interpretation of the Committee on Open Government's guidance on the new law to permit video conferencing board meetings, so long as all of the trustees are at a location that is noticed. If that's the case, then the board doesn't have to take any further steps like holding a hearing or drafting procedures or passing a resolution. Again, we'll provide more information as it becomes available. And if we can be of assistance, please reach out. And the last thing
did you say you were going to drop something in the chat about that?
Oh, it's on our website, actually. I don't know, Mike, can we find it? We'll stick it in the chat. And finally, just for everybody, we know it's a really great time of year for concerts and plays and musicals and graduations and moving up celebrations. And there's fewer of us than there are of you, so we can't always attend all of them. But we sure would love to celebrate your accomplishments and those of your students and your staff, however we can. So please let us know when you have events and celebrations happening. We'd love to hear from you about that. And that's all from the Mighty Institute team.
All right, I can jump in from New York City. Again, congratulations, Juan. Congratulations, Justin, and to all of the other award recipients. Well earned, congratulations. So from the New York City side, we have a lot of updates. They're coming your way in the C Weekly. They have been. We are at the confluence of the end of this school year, getting ready for summer for those that are offering summer school, and then also looking ahead to the fall. So there are a lot of things happening. So the first one, we have messaged this, and you're going to hear me message this literally every time you see me, but we want the entire sector to be aware that PEBT is happening again this year. It is happening again through the attendance reporting that you are doing to your RICs through that modality reporting. And then it's not yet 100% confirmed, but it sounds like there also may be some piece related to consecutive absences and whether those absences were excused or unexcused. So this year it is going to be slightly more complicated. Most of the charter schools in New York City, to my knowledge, have not yet begun this attendance reporting. And we know that there were significant issues last year with schools that waited until the last minute. So we are strongly urging that folks start, make sure you have level 0 access, make sure you know at least what is being reported, and to start at least a little bit slowly. And we will be sharing more information out as we get it. We just want to get the word out there. Our fall survey was due on May 4th. We have not yet heard from everyone. This is very important so that we know which schools are moving, what your plans are, what related services you're planning on offering. It's a lot of important planning information for the fall. And just a reminder, if you are moving to a new site, brand new building for that DBN, the application for OPT is due June 1st. And at that time, you do need a certificate of occupancy for the new site. If you will not have that certificate of occupancy by June 1st, it's imperative that you let us know so that we can work with OPT to see what flexibilities are available to you. The summer survey was due May 4th. We are working to have all of the schools that let us know they were offering their own summer programming loaded into ATS, tentatively scheduled for tomorrow, so that you can begin all of the work that needs to happen for your summer school programming in ATS. We are doing, to support that, we are doing a webinar tomorrow morning. The registration is in the C Weekly. just to cover all of the different screens that you need to pay attention to make sure that your students who are eligible for 12-month busing will receive that busing, who are eligible for Metro cards will receive those Metro cards, then everything is where it needs to be.
Could you drop any of the links to that in the chat, please?
Sure, I will drop all of the links when I am done speaking. They are also going to be in the Charter Schools Weekly. So if you don't receive the Charter Schools Weekly, if you want to message me individually, I can get your email and make sure that you receive it. Additionally, the lease assistance survey is going out in the C Weekly. So if you have a new lease for the upcoming school year, or if anything is changing with your existing lease, you will have a place to submit that as well. There was an update yesterday you may have seen in the press related to prom and end of year ceremonies where the students no longer need to be vaccinated. So more details will be coming out in the C Weekly just with, what is the obligation for adults, and it is a little bit different. So just watch that. And then the Related Services Fair is happening on Thursday. So more information and the registration is also in the C Weekly and has been there. So just let us know if you have any questions at all. And those are all of my updates. I am out of breath.
Thanks, Erin. I'll just ask a question before I do some announcements because it's timely with Sandy's question. Do you know yet what the DOE COVID testing is going to look like in the summer?
We are still confirming the specifics, but we do know that not all charter schools may want it, if depending on the length of your program. So long story short, we will be in touch with the charter schools that are participating in the DOE COVID testing, who have let us know that they are doing summer school. And so we will be in touch with you with additional information as we roll it out.
And just to close that out, folks should also know that because the DOE is passing out quite a few testing kits a week per student, if you are a charter school in private space and you are not getting them, make sure you reach out to Erin. If you're in co-located space, you should be coordinating with your custodial engineer to get all of those at-home testing, which is slightly different than the in-school testing that you might be doing with a vendor, but just so folks know that is all still going, and we'll let you know when that ends. I have a couple of announcements, but I will let Erin tell us what she does not have, which is the DOE's 22-23 school calendar, because we would absolutely have blasted it out if we had it. Erin would be the first to send it out because she must get that email several times a day.
But Corey, I'm only laughing because last year when these were weekly, I feel like it was like Erin was like, "Hi, my name is Erin. I don't have the calendar."
Right. She doesn't have the calendar.
I'm gonna have
she
that
doesn't
sign
have
right here.
She doesn't have a secret calendar. So we are all waiting, but we do not yet have the DOE calendar. A couple other health announcements. As Erin mentioned, some of you have been very closely watching what the DOE was doing with respect to their proms. Everyone saw the announcement that now students do not need to be vaccinated for proms. Just to be clear, that was never a requirement that had to apply to charters. It was just something if you wanted to use this as a way to incentivize vaccination, you could, but it was not a requirement. I think, schools that are in co-located space are still looking for maybe some direction on how to do graduation, particularly with adults in the building. So if you are co-located in a DOE space doing graduation, that is the guidance that is still forthcoming from DOE. What, if anything, there are going to be around that. So stay tuned. We are not planning to have a call on May 20th, which would have been next Friday. Those of you who have been joining us for the last few weeks know that the number of questions have dried up, which is fine and good because we are starting to get back to normal. So we'll be sending out emails, particularly if there's any update on this graduation issue for adults in buildings and DOE space. We'll always send out emails, but we will be having a call on Friday, June 3rd. So we are not done with the calls yet, but we are just slightly decreasing frequency because we know folks are very busy at the end of the year. A couple other events I want to draw your attention to. Janet already told us she's going to be on her data tour next week doing some great programming. So I will just echo, particularly with the LData reporting, if folks on this call can make sure you have someone at your school who is responsible for that. This was a misstep of last year and one that we're really trying to correct for next year for New York City charters. So please try to have someone from your ops or your L team join so we can get that. And Erin Cochran will also be a part of this wonderful team. And so we have some updates as well of what DOE is doing to help here. So please join. And then another one of my favorite events of the year is we always do an annual pre-K event at the Charter Center. Those of you who know me know I feel very passionately about charter schools providing pre-K. So we are this year going to have our event and be joined by Dr. Kara Ahmed, who is the new Director of Early Childhood at the Department of Education under the Banks administration. And so I really encourage any school that is providing pre-K or interested in providing pre-K to join. You'll get to hear from Dr. Kara Ahmed. She will explain her vision of what she sees for early childhood. We'll also be showcasing the work of 3 schools that have been doing pre-K for quite some time. So that's from Dream Charter School, Renaissance Charter School, and Public Prep. So please, please join. I'm also dropping that event registration in the chat. And that is all I have. Turning it back to you, Anna.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think I'm going to scroll really quickly. I think this is where Yumika and I are a dynamic duo, and I might not have seen all of the questions. I see one other one from Sandy Lee, from the very first question in the chat. I just received an email from BioReference that the weekly screening dropped from 20%, 60 kids, to 8 kids. Is that correct? And apparently this specific email referenced so many kids being vaccinated. Erin or Corey, is that something that rings a bell? Does that ring a bell?
So I think for specific questions like this, it's easiest to answer through our help desk because then we can dive into the numbers. But in general, the threshold is based on the number of vaccinated kids. So I think to put in a plug as a reminder for school, and I don't know if that's the issue here, but to help prevent possible issues here for schools that are participating in DOE COVID testing, you have the choice of either submitting the monthly survey of your vaccinated counts or of opting into us using the city data for vaccination. A lot of times schools will report the inverse of what we want. And so that has wound up causing some really low thresholds because we wanted one number and they gave us the other number.
Reverse,
so
yeah.
But we'll look into that. And if you have similar issues, we can support with a ticket.
Thanks, Erin. So Stacy's asking, would we have received notice if we didn't input our ELL data correctly? Janet, am I remembering this correctly, that this is where you have to do your validation of the reports as opposed to getting a specific alert?
Schools do have the opportunity to go into level 2 and confirm that the data that they have submitted is coming through correctly. But this year, in addition to trusting them to do that, I'm going to be directly in contact with our Office of Information Reporting Services, who will be giving me weekly updates on who has done it correctly and who has not. And I'll be sending out notices on a weekly basis, starting, I guess, at the very beginning of June or just before, so that we get everybody on track, everybody on board, and everybody reporting correctly.
Well, and then everybody should send Janet an edible arrangement or some similar token of gratitude, because L2RPT is not a character in a Star Wars film, or if it was, it would be a villain. But I would just add to that, Janet, ELL is not the only number that I think that my observation has been that schools have. I would also really encourage people, in particular with the endurance of the region's waivers, to check their high school graduation cohort rates, because that's another place where I've seen some pretty significant errors in reporting where people's graduation percentages are significantly different than what they should be. And these data become your state report card, which are publicly searchable report cards. They feed weird sites like the Great Schools site and things like that. So, again, L2RPT would be, in my mind, an evil droid in Star Wars, but
it's not. It's there to help you.
I know. I said, okay. So I'll just say,
Anna, thank you so much for bringing it up, though. I really appreciate it. You are absolutely correct. But please don't look at it as an evil droid. It is your friend. You need to be friends with it. It is your helpmate. It if you make friends with level 2, you're going to go so far. And that is one of the things that Tracy's going to be going over in depth on the Tuesday webinar with the New York State Charter Association. And then she's also going to do it again, but only specifically for L reporting. Tuesday is a more general overview of all of your end of year reporting, whereas Friday is a deep dive into the program facts report as it relates to L's.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I shouldn't hate on L2RPT, but I do think, yeah, please, someone should tune in to these webinars and or, let any combination of us know if you need some help.
And if I can
please,
just piggyback on that, sorry, like I think ideally, and I would love to hold a giant office hour webinar of like common best practices with data and like things to check every month. I think that a level 2 is something you do want to be checking monthly. The change that resulted in the, for lack of a better word, the loss of the L records at the state, that happened pretty late in the year. So even if you were checking early on, you would have missed it because it was kind of a late change that the state initiated in level 2. And I think the worst situation is to have a school come in now, realizing that your data from last year has an error in it, and there's nothing you can do now. So I think having a system, a way of checking that what you're seeing in level 2 matches what you are expecting to see early on before the warehouse closes is really your best bet to make sure that your state data is fine. Because you never know, like when you're applying for a loan for space for a bank, they're going to look at that data. There may be a question there. And so you want to make sure that you're on the same page with what is being reported at the state.
And I will be sending out weekly notices to anybody who has any issues whatsoever with their data, so that if level 2 is not reflecting what it's going to do as its final product, I'm your fail-safe to make sure that you know exactly what's going on. And I'm going to be very available. And yes, I'm going to try and take a little bit of time off, but not that very much. I'll try and restrict it to long weekends.
So I'm gonna torture my metaphor here and say Janet is your Yoda on this. And Mike, I think there was a question in the chat. If you don't, you dropped the data working group in. So the link that Mike just put in the chat is to the data working group meeting that Janet is referring to. That is the broad overview. And Corey, if you want to drop in the chat the link that is ELL, New York City ELL specific. Wendy asked the question, is there a link to apply for FEMA? Wendy, my short answer is going to be there probably is. My longer answer is going to be I would encourage you to join this webinar because I don't know what the link is. And Bob Keogh from Fourth Sector Solutions, who's had some success in getting charter schools funds from this grant, has some, I'm not trying to hook you into a webinar here, but I am just not sufficiently expert enough in it to speak to it. And I think it's a little bit more than a link in terms of really understanding and being able to crosswalk what the eligible funds are, what you have spent in those categories, what you have not already charged to other federal funding sources. So you can't have already claimed those things for ESSER or CSP or anything like that. And Mike can drop that link in the chat again. I would encourage you to come to the webinar. I would feel I honestly don't even know. I'm sure there is a link, but I don't know what it is. We can find it and potentially send it. And it looks like I'm just scrolling here. Have we gotten all of the questions? Is anyone seeing anything that I'm missing? Lots of links, friends, and know that you can the recording of this, which includes the links, will be available in our resource center, so you can access it later on, share it with your teammates, friends, and family, things like that. And with that, I think one last huge congratulations to Justin and Juan, and a happy Tuesday to you all. We will see you next month. And if there's anything that you need in the meantime, links or otherwise, please don't hesitate to let us know. Great to see you all. Be well.